I want you to take a moment and imagine a scene that seems impossible. Cameras flashing. Leaders from every corner of the world seated in a grand hall in Norway. The media holds its breath. The audience rises to its feet. And then the announcement. The Nobel Peace Prize goes to Donald J. Trump. Impossible, right? Or is it? Today I'm going to challenge what many people think is completely unthinkable. Because whether people love him or hate him, one thing is clear. Donald Trump has entered the conversation for the Nobel Peace Prize more than once. And tonight, I'm about to tell you why that may not be as unrealistic as most people believe. Let me start with something most people don't even know. Trump has already been nominated multiple times for the Nobel Peace Prize by officials from Norway, Sweden, and even a member of the Japanese Diet. These weren't fanboys. These weren't random online petitions. These were official parliamentary nominations. The only kinds that actually count. And many of these nominations were based on a single shocking achievement. Trump did something that no US president before him had ever done. He brokered historic peace agreements in the Middle East known as the Abraham Accords. Peace deals that even Barack Obama, George Bush, Bill Clinton, and yes, even United Nations failed to achieve. Countries that had hated each other. Nations that had refused to even acknowledge each other's existence. Sat down and signed peace agreements. The United Arab Emirates and Israel, Bahrain and Israel, Morocco and Israel, Sudan and Israel. These weren't symbolic. These were real diplomatic breakthroughs. Trade opened. Flights began. Borders thawed. Generations of hostility, suddenly replaced by handshake after handshake. And whether you like Trump or despise him, no one can erase this fact. Under his administration, parts of the Middle East actually became calmer, not more chaotic. But that's when something strange happened. While these peace deals were being signed, the media stayed almost silent. They didn't celebrate it. They didn't headline it. Instead, they mocked the Nobel Peace Prize nominations as a joke. Tell me, since when did peace become laughable? Since when did reducing war become controversial? Since when did actual diplomatic results matter less than political bias? Let's talk about something else, North Korea. You remember the fear, the threats, the nuclear warnings. Fire and fury like the world has never seen. Every military expert said it. War on the Korean peninsula was a real possibility. But instead of marching America into another pointless war, Trump did something shocking. He talked. He walked across the DMZ and became the first sitting US president in history to set foot in North Korea. Diplomacy worked. Missile tests slowed. Hostages were returned. Remains of American soldiers from the Korean War were brought home. Was it a complete peace deal? No. But it was a historic de-escalation, something dozens of leaders had failed to achieve. And still no Nobel Prize. So now I must ask, why? Why was Barack Obama awarded the Peace Prize after just 11 days in office, before he had even done anything, while Trump, love him or hate him, delivered tangible peace results? Gets nothing but ridicule. Something isn't adding up. Even members of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee itself have hinted that the prize has become political. And if that's true, what does that say about the Nobel system? Who really controls what peace means now? But let's keep moving forward. Because the question we're asking today is not whether Trump deserves the Nobel Prize, but whether he can actually win it. And the answer isn't as simple as you might think. There's a strategy. There's a path. And whether the world is ready to hear this or not, Trump winning the Nobel Prize is still absolutely possible. Here's the truth. The Nobel Peace Prize isn't awarded based purely on global popularity. It's awarded based on significant contributions to peace. So how does Trump win? One word: leverage. If Trump returns to the White House or maintains global political influence, he could position himself as a mediator in major world conflicts again. Imagine for a moment, Trump negotiates an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. Far-fetched, maybe. But consider this. He already has a working relationship with Putin and had better NATO relations back then than most people admit. Whether you like his style or not, Putin respected his unpredictability. And that gives Trump something every negotiator in history needs: leverage over the enemy. Or what if Trump goes after the true prize of world diplomacy, ending the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Some say it's impossible. Diplomats for decades have tried and failed. But Trump has already taken bold steps no other leader dared, moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem and still brokering Arab-Israel peace afterward. What if, just what if, he pulls off the unthinkable? If he brings both sides to the table and negotiates the world's longest-running conflict? Who could deny him the Nobel Peace Prize then? And there's more. There are groups inside Europe that openly support Trump receiving the Nobel Prize. They argue that Trump was one of the only leaders who didn't start a war during his term. Think about that. America is known for endless wars. But under Trump, no new wars began. The Nobel Prize has been awarded for preventing wars, not just ending them. And that fact alone forces us to take this question seriously. But let's not be naive. There are powerful groups who would stop Trump from ever touching that award. The political establishment, the global media alliances, the committee elites who fear controversy more than they value truth. And most of all, the Nobel Peace Prize has become a tool of global narrative control. It's not always about peace. It's about who gets to shape history. And that right there is Trump's biggest challenge. If he wants the Nobel Prize, he must break through a wall of global resistance, a machine built to silence outsiders. But this is also exactly what makes the story electrifying, because Trump has spent his whole life breaking systems that told him no. He wasn't supposed to win the 2016 election. He did. He wasn't supposed to survive impeachment twice. He did. He wasn't supposed to stay relevant after leaving the White House. Yet here we are. Every bet against him only makes him stronger. So ask yourself, if there is one political figure unpredictable enough to walk into Oslo, Norway, and accept a Nobel Peace Prize against all odds, who would it be? Exactly. The truth is simple. Will Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize? Maybe not today. Maybe not next year. But is it possible? Absolutely yes. He has the achievements. He has the global relevance. And most of all, he has the story. Because history has a funny way of rewriting itself. Enemies become peacemakers. Legends rise from controversy. And those who were once mocked eventually become immortal. So I'll leave you with this. Maybe the real question isn't, will Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize? Maybe the real question is, does the Nobel Peace Prize still deserve Trump? Because if peace has a price, if courage has a cost, if truth has enemies, then maybe, just maybe, it's not Trump who has something to prove anymore. Maybe it's the Nobel Committee. And that might be the most explosive truth of all.